Bene, buongiorno a tutti.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Dario Lorizzo. I work at GFK with regard to all the eyewear research studies, and I will be accompanied by my colleague who is in charge of research for eyewear lenses. And the word optics business trend in Europe is the title of this presentation. And I'd like to thank, first of all, the Mido, and I'm happy that also this year we could renew this partnership so that we can kick off this new 2016 edition. So for the next hour, we have prepared a presentation to show you the trends that have characterized our world that have affected glasses and for spectacle frames. Then I will leave Herzog, my colleague, who will show us with greater detail what is the trend of spectacle lenses, widening the tracking not only on the European market but also widening the scope to the trends with regard to benchmarks on very different markets, such as Shanghai or the Russian market. The presentation will last about 40 minutes, and at the end there will be a Q&A session, and we will be, of course, available for any questions you may have. So we may start, first of all, to introduce the concept of GFK and where we work. Our division deals with all research studies related to optics, and optics includes these 5 categories of products. There is a part related to vision care, contact lenses, lens care products, spectacle lenses, and then the more colored part related to sunglasses and frames. These are the main products that are sold within the optics channel. So what do? We do a tracking, and the data we will see is related to sellout, and this is a kind of research projects including a panel methodology. And we carry out this in over 25 countries in the world, and we keep on widening indeed the number of countries in order to identify global trends in optics and eyewear. So our research studies in the optics world cover the sellout going through over 160,000 opticians in the world, just to give you some figures, and we will see also more important figures later on. How does this research project work? So anytime we start these, indeed these are preliminary information just to make you understand what I will show you later on. So what does JFK panel is? First of all, when we enter a country, we want to analyze the market, and we need to understand how the retail world is structured. So first of all, we count the opticians, and we try and understand how the retail world is structured in a certain country. So what do? We subdivide these opticians in several categories according to the type. So we split opticians in chains versus independent outlets, and then we select a sample of retailers that are representative of the size for that country. So that sample will cooperate with us and giving us sellout data, meaning what is sold to consumers. And we're talking about enterprises, including discounts and VAT. So just to give you an introduction of the methodology in relation to what we will see for sellout data, and then we will make the main analysis of the trends in the optics world in Europe. It is also true that the buys are made by consumers. And so the first slide I'd like to show you is not related to sellout, but is related to an index. And you may see this index that is made by Eurostat, that is a confidence index of consumers towards the markets, mainly European markets, and we have considered the last 5 years. We will see now 2015 in order to analyze the trend of trust and confidence on the part of consumers towards all the markets, not only the optics market. In bold, you see the 0. So over the last few years, we have seen that consumers have been very negative as an attitude towards markets in general, not only optics market. So how these data can change for 2016. So if we look at the last year, we see that there has been a strong recovery in almost all European markets. And consumers have actually regained some confidence and trust in markets with more positive values. We see in different colors the trends of the various countries. There is a recovery in Italy, especially in our market, especially in the second part of the year. And you should consider that this data can be often affected by macroeconomic conditions and also by mass media that affect consumers' perception. With regard to Italy, there has been stronger politics on the part of the government, changing the word of labor, and this has affected consumers' trust and confidence. The unemployment rate has decreased, and talking about the influence of mass media in Germany, there has been a collapse, a decline related to some automotive groups in 2015, and France remains the country where indeed there is the greatest mistrust on the part of consumers, and then the last trend in November and December has been characterized by an additional decline, maybe related to some news. And Spain and UK is an example. You see there is a strong recovery with, again, a positive attitude on the part of consumers. This was an introduction related to consumers towards all markets, not only optics market. And then we see how these affects the trend of the main European countries in optics in general. And we are talking in this case about the market of Europe with 4 countries, Italy, France, Spain and Germany, for those 5 product categories that are the main optics products. And the estimate is about 17 billion euros. as the size of the market. And in relation to last year, there has been a growth in consumers' trust. And as a matter of fact, looking at the trend, the sign is very positive for this market, plus 6.8 growth rate, with a breakdown of the country that sees France and Germany with the greatest turnover, and then in this scenario of Europe with 4 countries, we see that Italy ranks third, and Spain has indeed a lower turnover. But all these countries have positively influenced the growth of the market. First of all, Germany, that has increased to 11% in value, and the other country at the opposite end, where the greatest growth has been Spain, although the contribution was smaller in relation to its size. Also, Italy and France positively closed the 2015, but with a lower growth rate compared to the European average. We have seen these 17 billion euros subdivided per country, but we see the scenario changes if we subdivide these per product category, and we see there's a new cake as an average turnover of an average opticians, and we consider independent opticians as well as chains. But just to have an idea of the retail business in Europe, and we see that most of it is represented by spectacle lenses, accounting for 58% of the turnover of these retailers. And we see that spectacle lenses have a very important part, and with frames, they represent the core business of opticians. So 90% of opticians' business is generated by the complete spectacles, and then we see together with this 4 products, we have 9.5% for contact lenses plus care, so indeed the lowest weight, but there is also the highest rebuy rate, so customers go back to the opticians shop to buy contact lenses. So we see all positive trends. If these are subdivided by products, with a growth rate of frames and spectacle lenses that has increased, so an increase in the buy of glasses. And then contact lenses is positive, but still small, whereas we have an increase also in sunglasses. So this is more or less the trend of main European countries. And in this second part of my presentation, we will see, and indeed we will exchange between myself and Till to comment on the performance of each of the business of this cake, and we will start from the smallest one, which is contact lenses, which is a product with a growth, even though the growth is smaller compared to the other compartments. And we see an increase in the silicone material, and over the last 5 years, from 2011 to 2015, this type of product that last year has overcome the traditional material, we see that it increases even today compared to traditional segment, and also it contributes to the growth of the market. But if we consider the breakdown for replacement frequency, and so the duration of contact lenses, and we see daily, reusable and conventional lenses, indeed, the segment that has the highest growth is the one of daily lenses. So consumers actually tend to use these daily lenses more, disposable lenses, reusable, we see indeed a decrease, and conventional lenses show a negative trend. So this market of contact lenses is also related to the liquids for lenses, and you see so care products for lenses, and we see a decrease in soft multi-purpose solutions. We have a decrease because for daily lenses you don't have the need for the use of these liquids, whereas we have an increase in the consumption of eye drops, because using this type of disposable lenses, you need to hydrate your eyes, and so you need to use other types of products. So the last segment we see for contact lenses is related to the lens type and style. If we look at spherical, toric, and multifocal lenses, we see that they all grow a positive market, as we have said, but the segment with the highest growth is that of multifocal lenses. And compared indeed to spectacle glasses, it's different, but they are increasing quite significantly, and more significantly than others. So we have seen the smallest market in terms of impact on turnover, but now we should comment on this other part of the market that is one of the most important part also for this exhibition, meaning eyewear, and for opticians. These accounts for 30%. We've got two retailers' point of view. So this type of products, with respect to 100, shows this scenario. So eyewear compartment made up of frames by 68% and 31% sunglasses. So we're talking about volumes. So substantially, we are talking about Europe with 4 countries, so there's not much change between one year and the other. And these two categories of products show plus 4% in 2015 for frames. We're talking about units. Volume trend plus 4% and plus 6% for sunglasses, which is a secondary market in terms of size, but the trend is very positive. But if we compare to the trend in value, we observe a higher growth, and this makes us think that there has been a growth of the average price on the market. And looking at the aggregate value per year, so 2015 compared to 2014, JFK has seen throughout the year, you see below the zero in blue sunglasses and red frames, you see a positive growth for both products, also starting from June, but especially at the end, towards the end of the year 2015. Again, the same market can be subdivided in two price areas from 0 to 80 euros, 80 to 120, 120 to 100, 200 to 180, and over 280. And what you see on the left, you see the breakdown of sunglasses. On the right, the breakdown of frames. And you see from this image, we have some similarities to the volumes of market. And we see that 43% for sunglasses and 45% for frames in volume. So this is generated with a lower price than 80 euros. And another thing we may see that with regard to frames, the upper area is more important for sunglasses. And the same image provides us different results if we observe this with respect to value. So we observe the 2015, but for value, we see that the group 120-200 is the one capable of generating the highest value. So almost 40% of frames, either for eyeglasses or sunglasses, passes through the area of products with a cost from 120 to 200, and then there is also a revaluation of the upper areas of price. But let's have a look at the evolution of the market compared to 2014, which are the price areas that have been best performing. So let's have a look at trends. For prices on the right, frames on the left side, sunglasses. This is a trend per value, a value trend. And for frames, the growth is more spotted, meaning that there is an increasing trend almost for all price ranges. Whereas for sunglasses, until about 1 year ago, we were talking about polarization because we observed some negative central groups, but in this case it's different. But we see that the upper groups and the lowest groups show more positive trends. So there is still this phenomenon, even if it is less marked, but especially products with a price above 200. For sunglasses, those products have mostly contributed to the growth of the market with some very positive phenomena. So continuing with this type of view of the market and analysis of the market with this subdivision by price ranges, and we see in this European aggregate analysis changes per country. So on the left side, sunglasses for Europe, and then the situation for each country. So the first should represent the average of European countries. Almost all countries are in line except for Spain. That is one of the markets where the importance of the lowest price ranges are more important and not in line with the European average, whereas France and Germany are the countries where the products with a price above 200 euros have the strongest impact. If we also add then frames, we're talking about 2015. You see eye glasses next to sunglasses, and you see Spain in relation to price breakdown is very similar for frames and sunglasses, whereas other countries such as France, and then you see the impact of the highest price ranges is higher for indeed frames. And so products with a price above 280 indeed is the price range that has the strongest impact. So it's interesting to notice the similarities among countries and differences also within the same nation and country with respect to the purchase of one category or the other. So there are countries with a different impact according to the category. With regard to sunglasses or frames, if we talk about sunglasses, Italy and France are the major countries, and together they generate over 60% of volumes. Spain is another Mediterranean country which is important for this category, and then Germany. So the impacts of countries is reversed if we consider the contribution of these countries with respect to eyeglasses and frames, where France becomes the most important market, but we also know the dynamics for these products for that country. And Italy and Spain are indeed not so important for frames, and Germany ranks second. So second place for frames. And if we look at the same image per value, we observe that the impacts remain substantially the same, but in Italy, that for sunglasses has the greatest impact for value, so a higher average price compared to other European countries, and the same applies for frames in France, where there is a higher per value impact rather than per unit, and in Germany, where we have very important chains, but the impact per value is not as important as the impact per volume. But all the countries contribute in a positive way to the growth of both categories, both in sunglasses, with a contribution on the part of Germany, as we have seen before, because there was the highest growth rate, positive contribution for sunglasses and frames as well. But more or less, all the countries show positive trends and positive signals for this sector. Then my last part, then I leave the floor to my colleague Till, that would talk about other categories and talking about eyeglasses and spectacle lenses. So this is an analysis we have done for Germany, and we have done this considering eyeglasses, and you see spectacle glasses with a correlation analysis between indeed the spectacle lenses and spectacle glasses with the data we had available. So we have always commented sellout data so far, but then we have added some color, some content, and some interesting information in relation to consumers who buy spectacles. First of all, the correlation between age and price. So the age of the consumer and the price of the frame. What you see there are dots that mean that as the consumer's age increases, there is an average of prices that is different, and that increases proportionately to the age, and these can be explained by the fact that there is a higher, of course, purchasing power, with some average prices that are quite high in Germany for the analyzed sample. But what is interesting is that when we associate information related to the price of the frame and the price of the spectacle lenses of the frame, and you see that there is a linear correlation between the price of the frame and the price of the lenses. In this case, it's just one lens, but of course they are parallel, and there is a linear correlation between the two, and this tells us that there is a possibility for the industry and for retailers above all to offer premium products for those categories. So there is a consumer buy either the one or the other category that has the availability to actually buy products with a higher price. And this is a great opportunity for retailers. We have seen this for the German market, but this is an indication of a useful phenomenon in order to actually give some promotions to retailers. At the end of the presentation, we will give you more details to understand which type of lens is then applied to premium products. So not only the price of the lens, but also the type that is applied to more expensive products. So I finished my part of the presentation, and then I leave the floor to my colleague.
Yes, of course. It's on? Ah, yes. Okay. Good morning. I want to go on with spectacle lenses. I have to speak in English because I'm coming from Germany and my Italian is not as good to make a speech. Let's start with 5 markets, which are Germany, Spain, France, Italy, and the Netherlands. The size of the markets are in units, nearly 100 million units of spectacle lenses, and it's in value nearly over 10 billion euro. And we have an average price per lens, per single lens, including VAT, of 107 euro. That's the sell-out optician, not the sell-in, it's the sell-out opticians. And if you have a look here on the countries from where, which countries participate, we see the biggest market as before is clearly France. If I took in correlation to the population, the sales per capita are the highest in France. Next country is Germany, here with 3.6 million, France here nearly 4 billion euro, and then we have Italy with 1.3 billion euro, and finally Spain here with about 1 billion euro. Netherlands is about 600 million euro turnover for spectacle lenses. And if we add now 2 new markets we have, that's Russia and the city of Shanghai in China. We see that in Russia, where we cover all cities, about 100,000 inhabitants, we have here units about 11 million lenses. So we have a relatively low price, 24 euros. That's truly coming from the economic crisis in Russia. We have here a value of about 300 million euro, so less than half of Netherlands. If we go to the city of Shanghai, we see one city with 12 million units is nearly as big as a smaller European country in terms of size. Here the average price of 47 euros is also quite high. If we take the development of China in consideration, 47 euro. So we have here for one city a relatively high market value for spectacle lenses. It's about the same size of Netherlands. If we have a look on the increase rates for the 5 European countries, we see, like for spectacle frames, a relatively robust development, a good unit increase with about 6%. We have a value increase which is even higher with nearly 8%, and we have a price increase with about 2%. That's the reason for the higher value increase in comparison to the unit increase. The good thing with the retail panel, we always can go deeper and can explain things. So if you have here a look in the different periods, the development in comparison to previous year, we see for sales units a relatively robust increase in comparison to the previous year's period. If you have a look here on price, we start quite weak in the beginning of the year, but then we have a relatively good development until the end of the year, so that we have a very, very good value increase in the end of 2015. What is now the reason for that? Is the reason for that opticians simply increase prices? Surely not. With the retail panel we can go deeper. We can have a look on the lens quality. Here you see a split by lens type, the increase rate, monofocal, progressive and proximity lenses. And we see the biggest increase in units we have for progressive lenses, plus 9% for progressive lenses in Europe. And here you can see also the share for the 5 countries. We see here monofocal, surely the highest segment of the market with 66%, but declining to the end of the year to 64%. At the same time, we have the relatively good development for progressive lenses. So progressive lenses are the driver of the growth. If you have a look here on proximity lenses, you have to take into consideration that's a chance for the second pair of lenses to sell double, because these lenses you can also use for working in front of the PC or for reading newspapers. From my point of view, this potential is not really used in Europe up to now. There are big chances to develop the market by this technology. If you have a look here on the different countries, Italy, France, Germany, Netherlands and Spain, we see quite huge differences. You can see Italy with about 18% share of progressive lenses. It's increasing, it's going the right direction. But if I compare it with France, well, there we have a share of 37%, or Germany with 33% coming from 30%, as well Netherlands, a relatively high share, Spain again a lower share with 27%. By these differences, you can see for several countries really high potential in developing the market in the direction of higher value, of higher turnover. I brought with me these 2 countries, Russia and Shanghai. Of course, focus is here on monofocal lenses, but you can see here in Shanghai a relatively good high share for progressive lenses. In Russia, it's quite low. They are a bit better for proximity lenses. Here again, we see also the price level. And you can see in every country, of course, the price level of progressive lenses is much, much higher than of monofocal lenses. And from there you can see the potential of value growth which you have with progressive lenses. Partly in Germany we have here relatively high prices. These are coming from these individual lenses which are partly in price over 500 euro, and they have a quite high share in Germany. As well here in Russia and also in China, Shanghai, you can see a price of 83 and 88 euros for a progressive lens, lower than in Europe, but again much higher in comparison to monofocal lenses. Okay, we see one driver of price was the increase of the share of progressive lenses, but of course we can analyze the market a bit deeper. So let's go here to refraction index. We see 1.5, 1.6 and 1.67, and again we see growth is coming from 1.6 and 1.67 lenses. So this is the reason for the price increase. Again, here the shares, of course, the biggest segment, again, 1.5 lenses, but you can see here with 29% the 1.6 lenses, and you can see here the growth in the 1.67 segment from 6.1% to nearly 7% at the end of the year. So improvement of lens quality is driving the price. Again, of course, we have the different countries, and we can see that we have here in Italy 20%, France 24%, and Spain 25%. It's a bit comparable. Italy a bit low, but you can see here Germany with 45% share for 1.6 lenses. Germany is developing into a 1.6 market. By the way, this is happening in independent stores and as well in big chains. That's a clear development of the market. Again, we can see here the situation in Russia and Shanghai. Interesting, in Asia we have relatively high shares for 1.6 and 1.67 lenses. I had also a quick look on Japan data, and also in Japan we have a very, very high share for 1.6 and even a higher share for 1.67. Again, we see here the impact of price. Of course, we have the situation that more progressive lenses have a higher index, so this is also here inside the prices, but we can clearly see here for Italy, monofocal lenses, 1.5 lenses, 74 euro, 121 for 1.6 and 1.67 here 164. In Germany the differences are even higher. So again we see the impact of the refraction index on price quite clearly in this analysis. Let's have a look on a third product feature, not colored, colored and photochromic. We see increases coming a bit from photochromic with plus 10%. Also interesting. If you have here look on the shares, we can see that the share of colored coming from 9%. In summer, of course, it's higher with 14% and then declining again to 9%. Photochromic is over the year stable, in summer a bit higher with 6% and declining a bit in the end of the year, but in comparison to colored lenses it's relatively stable. Again, if you have a look here on the different countries, we can see here the share for colored lenses in Italy, France, Germany, Spain, Russia and in Shanghai. We see in Italy quite low with 3.4%. In the other countries it's higher. And we can see here the share of photochromic. And if you have a look here in Italy, we have a very high share of photochromic lenses with nearly 10%. That's an interesting difference. I spoke about that with my colleague. Why do we have here a share of 15% colored lenses in Germany and in Italy, where we have a bit better weather, only of 3.4%? Reason for that is that the Italians are wearing their sunglasses together with contact lenses, and so they do not need a colored lens with ophthalmic strength. If you have a look here on that, not only on total market, but only on progressive, we can see again quite interesting things. You see here in Germany, the share of colored inside progressive lenses is 21.5%. Reason for that is that in Germany, very often, progressive wearers purchase a second frame for driving, and that's with colored lenses. Opticians are doing a lot of promotion on that, and this is explaining the high share. Here in Italy, we have a very high share of photochromic lenses within progressive lenses, 26.5 in comparison to the other countries. Really a huge difference, so that's a typical situation for Italy if you compare it with the other countries. To analyze pricing, price points a bit deeper, I created this chart here. We have here the unit share in percent on the x-axis, and on the y-axis we have the price in euro, everything for European 4 countries. And here in value you can see the size of the different market segments, 1.5 without coating, 1.5 with multi-layer coating, 1.6 with no coating, 1.6 with multi-layer coating, 1.67 plus, 1.67 plus multi-layer. And everything is for the same medical indication. This consumer needs a monofocal lens. So we have here the cheapest price, 1.5, no coating. And then you can see here's the development. Increasing price, a bigger segment, 1.5 including multi-layer. So the optician is adding multi-layer and we are now on a new price level. Or we are going here to very small segment, 1.6, no additional coating. We are here at a price level of 90 euro. And if we go on to 1.6 multi-layer coating, we are here over 100 euro. Finally, we are coming here to the high-end segment, 1.67 multi-layer coating. We are here at 140 euro. So the same consumer can be served for a price for about, let's say, 25 euro or 540 euro, simply by using the different type of product feature to find for every consumer the best price point. We can make things a bit more complicated if we go to progressive lenses. Here I added to 1.5 no coating and coating, traditional and freeform. The freeformed are these new kind of lenses coming in the last 10 years where individual parameters are coming into the processing of the lens. And of course, this has again an impact on pricing. We start here with same medical indications. The consumer is needing a progressive lens. We are starting here at the low end. You can start here with 50 euro per lens. 1.5 traditional, no coating. I discussed now only the big segments. We are coming now to the next point, 1.5 traditional multi-layer coating. And we are here on a price of 200 euro. Let's go on. We are coming to 1.5 freeform multi-layer coating. We are here in the price range of 250. A very big segment is also here 1.6 traditional multi-layer coating. And if we go here to the segment 21% of the market, we are here 1.6 freeform multi-layer coating. And finally, we are here in the absolutely high end, 1.67 freeformed multi-layer coating, and we are here in a price range nearly to 400 euro. So the same medical indication, and we can go from prices of 50 euro unto prices of 350 euro just by combining different product features. So every optician is able to find here really the best price point for his consumer and can exploit the market to drive the value. Finally, we want to go a bit deeper in analyzing the correlation between price of frame and price of lens. Are there interactions in between? Of course, there are interactions. Here you can see Rodenstock Impression 2, Rodenstock Impression 1.6 and Rodenstock Impression 1.67. You see here the development of price 432, 467, and here 472, increasing price by increasing product features. The same here for the Zeiss Gleitsicht Individual 2, cheapest possibility 1.6, and you see here for 454, 1.74 refraction index. If we are coming now to our correlation, you can see here the price bands of frames from 0 to 50 euro, 50, 100 euro, 100 to 150, and over 350 euro. And here you can see share of lens type, which means monofocal, progressive, proximity. And you clearly can see in the cheap frames, we will find 81% monofocal lenses. And in the very expensive frames, we will find 63% progressive lenses. This means for every manufacturer for spectacle frames, it's absolutely clear that high-end frames must be fit very well together with progressive lenses. Because in 63% of all cases, a progressive lens will come into this frame. If we go on and have a look on the refraction index, here again the price class of spectacle frame, you clearly see the increase of 1.6 from 15% in cheap lenses, in cheap frames, to 65% in quite expensive spectacle frames, which is also a quite good indication. If you have a look here on 1.67, you can see here also the development from 2% to 22%. As well, if you are going to a product feature like colored, colorless, and phototrope, you clearly can see that we see for phototrope lenses an increase of the share in higher frame classes with 350 euro. We see here 8%. Okay, this data I took from January. I assume if we would have taken them from the month July, we would even see a higher correlation. Last but not least, we can state frame prices are a function of the lens quality of the lens, which is coming finally into the spectacle frames, and that has to be taken into consideration. Okay, let's conclude. You do all your photos. Okay. Let's conclude. Okay. The animation was done a bit quick. The European market for spectacle lenses is increasing. Increase is driven by a robust unit increase and a price increase, which finally results in an even better value growth. France is the biggest market in Europe. Spendings per capita are here the highest if we take population in account. Price increase is driven by an improved lens quality related to product features. The share of progressive lenses is increasing in EU5, which is driven by all countries. Share differences for progressive lenses between countries are high. For example, Italy has a relatively small share for progressive lenses, which is a big chance to increase the value of this market. The trend is going towards higher refraction index, which is again driving the price. Interesting is a high share of 1.6 lenses in Germany, really driven by all kinds of shops. Photochromic lenses are improving the share. The performance of photochromic lenses is better within the progressive market. Due to the high number of product features, the market can be analyzed by price steps. These price steps are giving the opticians the possibility to find really the best price point for every consumer. So far, my comments for spectacle lenses, and now I think questions and answer. Thank you.
Okay. I switch to English, sorry. So for the time we have at our disposal, we are here to answer to any question you might have. E siamo qui gli ultimi minuti che ci rimangono di questa sessione per eventuali domande, se ce ne sono. Bene.
Everything clear? Then we meet again tomorrow. We will have another presentation by JFK at 11 o'clock at Optic Club. And together with Mido, we will analyze other aspects of consumers with respect to other geographies we haven't seen today. Thank you very much for your participation.